Hey guys, it's Joey Gaming and welcome back to the Joey Gaming channel. In today's video, I have the first of many story times that involve the student council. Last year, I announced that I won the student body election for the student council, and because of that, of me being in the student council, I have a lot of stories that I want to share with you guys now of me being in there. There's a lot of crazy experiences that I have of me setting up dances, events, and all the other stuff that I haven't mentioned before. So yeah, this is a brand new series. This is a sub-series to my school Storytime playlist. If you haven't checked those videos out, go ahead and do so. There are some bangers. Another thing I want to mention is that all these story times are going to go in chronological order on when they happened. So for example, the first ever story time I'm going to be talking about will be USULC 21 and the retreat, which is a log cabin in the middle of some mountains with the rest of the student council and all the rest of the stuff that happened during the summer. And then after that, it would be story times that took place during homecoming, then Halloween, Christmas. You get the point. It's just going in order of when these story times actually happened. So yeah, another thing that I want to mention is that all the names that I mentioned here are going to be completely anonymous. I'm giving everyone in the student council, including the teachers and students that I have encountered, fake names. Because I don't really want to leak people's names and identity, and I could get into some trouble if I do that. With the exception of Kimball. Kimball's an exception to this rule, and I'll explain why in a little bit. And if one of the student council people or anyone in these story times come up to me and say, "Hey, Joey, it's okay to use my name in your story times," then yeah, then I would use their names in the story times. But until I get confirmation that I can use their names in story times, everyone's going to be getting false names just to protect their identities, because not everyone wants their names on the internet, and I want to make sure I respect that. So right now, everyone in the Storytime series will get fake names, with the exception of Kimball, because I already asked and got his permission. And actually, Kimball, I actually got permission to use his videos for this video, and that's why I have his permission. So Kimball is going to be the only one that is not going to have a fake name, but everyone else will be as of right now, unless they come to me and say, "Hey, Joey, you can use my name in your story times." Another thing I just want to let you guys know of is that my school has 2 student body offices, and what I mean by that is that you have the regular student council, and then you have another one called the exec. The exec is actually what I was in, and it's actually above the student council. So from now and on, I will be referring to the student council as the exec, because the student council is actually what the student council does in my school is that they just show up for dances and they help out and they just be respectful to the whole community. The exec are the ones that actually plan the events out. They actually do that, and the exec actually has an actual class that they go to and they plan stuff out, and that's how that works. So from now on, I'm going to be referring the student council as the exec, because the exec and student council, at least in my school, are completely 2 different things. So another announcement that I would like to make is that right now I'm currently in Los Angeles, California. I'm currently on vacation at Universal Studios. So at the time when this video goes up, I will be in California, and I just want to let you guys know that the next few videos that you guys see in the next week or 2 are pre-made and are not made within that week. They're just been scheduled ahead of time. So I just want to let you guys know about all of that. So yeah, anyways, let's get right into this story time. So the story begins before I was even in the exec. So every year my school does the elections, and this is how they determine who is going to be in the exec or not. And they do a school election, and every year they tell everyone, "Hey, if you're interested on joining the exec or student council, go down to such and such's class." And then for this video, we're going to call her Mrs. Government. That's the teacher that was in charge of the exec. She was the exec supervisor. You might think that Mrs. Government is a weird name, and let me tell you why I chose that name. First of all, the actual course name for the exec was called Student Government. That's what it said on Power School. If you guys have any of that program to check your grades, that's what it was on. That was what it was called on Power School. So that was one reason. And another reason is that Mrs. Government had a husband that also worked at the school, and his name was Mr. Government too. And the reason why I chose Mr. Government is because Mr. Government had an amazing class. His class was hilarious, and I actually plan on telling some stories that take place in his class, and that's why I have chosen the name Mr. Government and Mrs. Government. So from now on, when you hear Mrs. Government or Mr. Government, that's the reason why I called these teachers that, is because they both work in government-related courses for the school, you know? But anyways, let's get back to the story. So if you wanted to run for the student council and do the election stuff, you had to go to Mrs. Government's class, and when you get there, it takes place an hour before. You had to be there an hour before school starts. And what it is she would explain all the rules for the exec and how to do elections, right? The rules, like, she'll be like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. You can't have current exec members in your election videos. You can't put tape on these certain walls. You can't use this certain type of tape because it damages the school walls. And the best way to describe the best way I can describe Mrs. Government is that she's kind of a more stricter teacher, and I'm not saying that to be in a bad way. She's just a more authoritarian teacher, and that's the way she kind of operates. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It actually is really effective for her. But if you actually get to know her and you really respect her, she would actually respect you back. And she's actually a pretty caring teacher. She actually is really, really supportive. She's just a little bit more strict. So that's kind of the best way I can really describe her and her personality. She wasn't a bad teacher whatsoever. In fact, I would consider her one of my favorite teachers because of the things that she's done. She's a little strict, but I don't really consider that a major thing. She wasn't overbearingly strict where you can't do everything in her class, right? She was still reasonable but still strict. That's the best way I can really describe Mrs. Government to you guys. So yeah, long story short, she was giving us all these rules for the exec, right? For the election, you can't do certain things, and there were certain requirements, like you have to have certain amounts of posters on the walls. You had to make an election video telling people why you should vote for that said person, you know. Some people made TikTok videos, but I will probably go more in depth when I actually release my story time on how I won the election, but that's not really relevant. But what is relevant is that Mrs. Government told us, saying, oh, if you guys win the election, you get to go to this place called USULC, which is a program hosted by the Utah State University. And what they do is they invite a bunch of student body officers, presidents, and other people that did elections to their university. And what they do is they do this multiple day program where they teach all these kids and teenagers how to become better leaders, right? They'll teach them like leadership skills, how to communicate with students better. It's actually a really cool experience, and this is the place I ended up going. So she was describing this to me and said, hey, this is actually really, really cool. And fast forward, I end up winning the election, and that's when everything started to kick off, right? I win the election, and then more information came out, and the first thing that we had to do is we had to get a COVID test. Keep in mind, this was back in 2021. COVID was still going on. This is actually the first year that they came back, because in 2020, Utah State decided that they're going to host it virtually, and they had to do it through Zoom, and it wasn't that good, apparently, according to some people. So they decided to do it again for 2021. However, they required COVID tests. I'm not sure if they made everyone wear masks. You know what? They didn't make everyone wear masks, but they made sure that everyone was either vaccinated or that they had a COVID test. Back in spring of 2021, I had COVID over spring break. And so I asked my exec teacher, which is Mrs. Government, not a real name, by the way, saying, hey, I had COVID back in spring break. Does that count as a negative test result, or does that count as a vaccination? Because you get immunity to COVID for like 3 to 6 months. And Mrs. Government told me that she wasn't sure, but she'll look into it. And she responds back into me. Keep in mind, we all had a group me, or if you know what group me is a group chat type of software where everyone talks to each other. So we had a group me, and so I said, hey, I had COVID back in spring break. Will that count as a negative test result? And Mrs. Government looked into it, and And the answer was indeed yes, that does work. However, I just need to prove that I did have COVID, so I sent her the evidence that I did have COVID, and that was all good. So that means I didn't need to take a test or get the vaccine now, so that was good. So yeah, the next thing that we needed to do is we had to learn how to do a dance, because at USULC we had to do this dance because all the schools are going to be doing a group dance. So we had to learn how to do this dance, and we decided that we're going to do this one song. I forgot what it was called. It's just like fancy dancing, and keep in mind I was not good at dancing. So like every week we would go to the school gym, right? During the summers, like every Tuesday or Saturday, sometime around then, and we would practice this song, right? And Mrs. Government or someone else, I wasn't sure, would choose our partners, right? And, you know, obviously it was a boy and a girl, right? You're not going to get two boys together or two girls together, right? So I got paired up to this other girl, right? And she wasn't a dancer either, and she was not much better than me. She wasn't a dancer whatsoever. So yeah, so we were both horrible at this dancing thing. We were not good. We were trying. We were doing some progress. We had some progress, and we were learning somewhat of it. However, we were not exactly perfect. So one of the girls on the exec came over and helped us, and we did get better over time. However, we were still not perfect whatsoever. And even throughout the couple of weeks we were practicing, we were still pretty horrible. Keep in mind, guys, like I said earlier, I am not a dancer. In my spare time, I play video games and make YouTube videos. I just don't dance. That's not my thing. And so we were both horrible at it, right? Even through the practicing we had, we were still pretty horrible at the dancing thing. Yeah. 2 weeks before we went to USULC, Mrs. Government came out and said, hey guys, we are going to get assigned a theme color, and our theme color is silver. So bring silver and wear silver, because we're going to have something called a spirit bowl, and a bunch of other schools are going to be dressing up. And yeah, so that's what Mrs. Government told us. She said, hey, bring a bunch of silver clothes, orders some on Amazon and whatever. And I said, oh, that's pretty cool. We're going to be dressing up as different theme colors. And I will get into more of the theme colors in a little bit when I get to the part when I get to Utah State University. So, 2 weeks later, we head down to the high school at 6 in the morning, you know, and let me tell you, I am not an early person, right? I'm not a morning person, so that was stressful, right? I had to get up like 5 in the morning, take a shower, and then get to the school, you know. And honestly, it sucks already to go to school at 8 in the morning where I live, right? That's when I start school, is at 8 o'clock. In different parts of the world or different parts of the United States, that may be different. But here in Idaho, I went to school at around 8 a.m. and for me that sucked, right? But going to school at 6 in the morning sucked even more for me, you know? And I don't know, it was just horrible. We get there and we carpooled, because at the few other meetings we had before we went, we discussed who was going to bring cars, who was going to be driving, and who was carpooling. So we get into each other's cars, and the person that I was with in the car that we were carpooling with was Kimball's sister and the senior class president. She might have been there, but I don't exactly remember. I know there was someone else in there, so that's the person I'm probably thinking of that was also with me. So, the drive down to Utah State University from my school, it's like 45 minutes to like an hour to get from my town in Idaho to Utah State University. In fact, people from my town actually drive down to the town that Utah State is located in, because they have Walmart and Target, and my town has like a single grocery store. So a lot of people actually travel down to this other town just to get groceries. So I don't know. So that was how far away Utah State University was. So we carpool down to Utah State University. We get there, we see this like clock tower thing. It's like a tower. Not sure if it's a clock tower, but it has a massive A on top. You guys will see what it is very shortly. So the first thing that we did when we got to Utah State University was look for a parking spot in one of the parking garages. We find a spot, we park, and we take our suitcases out. what we did is we met up in this courtyard area of Utah State with a bunch of dorm rooms, and I met up with Mrs. Government and a few other people from the exec, right? And Mrs. Government said, all right, guys, we need to get roll figured out, so I'm going to say your name and just say present or here, right? And one of us had the great idea. I'm saying, hey, what if we had a number-based system? You may be confused on what that means, but what we had is that instead of saying something you hear and be like, yeah, present or here, we had this number system. So how it worked is that we were all in alphabetical order by our last names, or was our first names? No, it has to be last names, actually. I think it was last names. I don't know. It's been a long time. So how it was is that my last name started with an A, and I had someone else in the exec that also started with an A, and so basically I was like in second in behind. So this one guy, right, he would say 1, and I would say 2. Then the next person would say 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, up to that high of a number, in which is 15 because we had 15 exec members. Oh, you actually know what? No, that's not true. We also had the student council as well, so it was actually more like 20 to 25, maybe 30 around that time. I don't know, probably more, because we had some people from the student council come, so it wasn't just the exec. So we had this number system, right? So when we needed to do roll call, Mrs. Government would be like, all right, 1, and then the guy would be like 1, then I say 2, then the person next to me would say 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth, you know? And that system was so effective, we actually adopted that with fire drills. You know how fire drills are? At least in the state of Idaho, we had to do fire drills where you have to do it like 2 or 3, right? You have to go outside, go to a certain location, like the school parking lot, and then you have to say your name, right? And we adopted that system for fire drills, and it was actually really, really effective. And you know, because it's like really effective because you don't need to say your name, you just have to hear the numbers and be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, something like that. I don't know, but it was like a really effective system, and that's a system that we had developed because of Utah State University. So after that, we met our advisor or super advisor. Basically, we had Utah State had this program called the Ambassador Program. Ambassadors are Utah State University students that sign up, and what they do is that they recruit high school students to come to their college, right? And they also help incoming freshmen with orientation and registration and a few other things, right? I don't know exactly all the things they do. I just know that they just help recruit people to come to Utah State University. So they were there, right? And the advisor that was assigned to our group knew Mrs. Government. And apparently this girl used to be in the exec with Mrs. Government. So she either signed up to be our supervisor or she was chosen to be the supervisor by chance and she just got lucky, and I don't know how exactly that worked out, but she was chosen to be our super advisor at this event, which is USULC, right? So after we did that, we head over to the... No, you know what? Before we head over to the A, and you may be confusing the A, I'll get to that in a little bit. We went to our dorm rooms, right? We got our key cards, right? We go through and we put our suitcases up in the dorm rooms, right? And we take our stuff. We head over down to this courtyard area, and it was like an open area, right? And we went to this bench, right, and it had an A on it, and this bench is actually quite famous at Utah State University. People say that you're not a true Aggie until you kiss someone on there, and that may sound weird, but that's the culture at Utah State. So you would show up, right, and we showed up and we took a photo on this A bench, and it was really cool, and a few other schools did it as well. And we had some time to kill, so our advisor, right, and a few other advisors decided to play a quick game, and these games were involving with some of the schools right nearby, and we played like Duck Duck Goose, and we played this other game where we had to partner up with someone else from a different school, and it's like a matching game. Like you're trying to copy like a move. Like you have to help. Like I don't know. It was just so weird. You have to copy like a movement, and whoever does it, whoever is the slowest is disqualified, and then they lose. I don't know. I don't remember the game of the name or the whole concept. It was just interesting, right? You just have to partner up, and then the person in charge of the game be like, okay, lifeguard or turtle, right? And then you guys had to do some sort of motion, right? And it was hilarious, right? We got some awesome laughs, right? And when we're playing this game, it is hot as heck. Because someone in the exec decided, hey, you know what? We're going to get some long-sleeved sweaters in our school's colors. And sweaters at first don't really sound bad. But in the middle of summer, right, when there's like 80 to 90 degree weather, you would not want to wear a sweater. And, well, it's not really a sweater. It was more of a long-sleeved shirt. So it was hot as heck, right? And I was like burning up. So when the time came when the advisors said, all right, guys, it's time to go into the assembly hall, and I was like super excited because finally air conditioning, right? Because I was so hot playing these games because I was wearing these long sleeve sweaters. It was just incredible. So yeah, so next thing we did is we met up at this assembly hall, and what they did is they played a skit for us, right? They played this little skit. It's like a camping skit, right? I don't remember the details of the skit. It's a leadership thing, right? They was talking about leadership. I don't remember the whole thing, but I don't know. They had a skit, right? And after the skit, they played the videos, right? They played this video, right? And what they did is that they showed off all the teams, like all the schools, and what school is assigned to each color. There was 4 colors. We had the silver, we had the gold, we had the blue, and we had the green, right? And my school was part of silver. And it was like really, really cool. And they told us what teams were part of each color. Not teams, what schools were part of each color. And they explained that over a time at Utah State University, advisors and Utah State staff are going to give out tokens, right? And whoever had the most tokens would win the game. And I don't know, there was just something fun where they're going to just give tokens out to people, right? They're going to give out tokens for like good behavior. If they see something nice, saying, oh, like if let's say you bump into someone, right, and that person dropped their bag and their stuff went everywhere, right? And if you go over there and help that person out, and a Utah State staff member sees that, they're going to give you points. I'm like, hey, that's a really nice act of kindness. We're going to give you a token for that, right? Or if you win like a game at the game events, or you win a competition, then you also get tokens as well. And in fact, we actually kind of inspired this token system with our school. But that's a different story time for another day. Yeah, we had this competition going on. They explained the rules. And the next thing they gave us was a bag, and this bag had a bunch of stuff in it. It had like a hat, it had like chapstick, it had like a water bottle, and it had an info book about Utah State University, which contained a notebook as well where you can write stuff down. And they actually encouraged people to go to other schools and write down the person's position and their phone number and their Instagram title so you can contact them. And in reality, that's actually a really, really smart idea, because let's say you need ideas, right? You're running a school event and you have no ideas, right? You're like, I'm gonna pull out my Utah State University book. Samantha, she is the SBO president. I'm gonna go call her phone number, right? And you call her and you get ideas, right? It's a good idea. I have never personally done that, but I actually have a bunch of names and names and positions and phone numbers that I probably will not need now, since I am no longer in the student council / the exec. So that was really, really cool as well. And in that bag, they also had a badge, right? And this badge contained the person's name and position and what grade they are in. And it's like really, really cool. So right here, this is the actual badge that I wore to USULC 21. And on top, this is the picture of a bobcat, and the circle is supposed to represent my color, which is silver. I'm going to talk about the colors in a little bit, or if I probably did already. I don't know. I'm recording this before I actually do the actual commentary, if I'm being completely honest. But This is the actual badge. It has the bobcat, it has the silver stuff. And right here, if you look careful enough, it has my name. And underneath my finger, it has my real legal last name, but I'd rather not share that on the internet, so I will not be sharing that with you guys. And right there, it says USULC 21, so there's my proof that I actually went to this place in real life. Another thing I want to show you is at the very bottom where it says our position. Right here it says SBO Media. That's my position. That's the position I did. Basically, I ran my school social media, and I ran an Instagram account, I ran a Twitter, I used a TikTok, I uploaded to a YouTube channel for my school, and that was my position. Also, it says Utah State University at the bottom. So this is the badge. It was insanely cool. It's a little bit beat up. It has definitely seen better days, but this is my proof that I actually went to this place and that I was actually in the student council or the exec. So yeah, anyways, let's continue with the rest of the commentary. I forgot to mention in the commentary that each theme or color represented a different mascot. For silver, we had the Bobcats, and gold was a snake. And I forgot what the other mascots are for the other colors, but you guys will see the mascots when in a little bit. So now I want to share with you guys a video of what the first day looked like at USULC. This video was made by Kimball Mueller. He was the SBO president of my school, and he was second in command behind Mrs. Government. What he does is he's in charge of the exec. He's making sure that everyone is working and doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? And approving stuff as well. Keep in mind he wasn't in charge all the time because Mrs. Government had to get approved by her. But Kimball was a step below her, basically. And this kid is literally incredibly talented when it comes to video editing, and I knew I had to show his videos here on my channel. Kimball ended up making a recap video every day we were here, and this actually encouraged him to create a recap account for our school, where he recaps school events that happened and make a weekly video on it. So what would happen is that he would go to like football games, soccer games, basketball games, and a few other school events, right? And he would make a weekly recap video. And if it wasn't for Utah State University, he probably would have never made that Instagram account and probably would not make those weekly recap accounts. Recap videos. So because of him making these videos and enjoying it, he actually created another account for our school making recap videos, weekly recap videos, which I thought was really cool at the time for Kimball to do. So yeah, that was awesome. Kimball also has a lot of other videos, like a lot of personal videos of him like skiing and flying his drone around, and I highly recommend that you check it out. So if you want to check out his videos, I will leave a link to his Instagram below in the description. He makes a lot of awesome videos, and he's actually going to be going to France very soon, so wish him the best of luck on his mission to France. So yeah, so the videos that I will show you, I'm not going to play the audio. He did use copyrighted music, and I don't really want to play that here on my channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play non-copyrighted music underneath of Kimball's video. So you guys are not listening to nothing. You guys will have music. It just won't be the original music. If you guys want to check out the raw video that is not edited by me, then I recommend that you check out Kimball's Instagram. Keep in mind, Kimball removed the videos from his profile grid, so you'll have to click on his video feed to find them. It's just at the very bottom, you'll find it. So yeah, here's the first video. So that was Kimball's first of many videos that he would have filmed at Utah State University. And what he did is that after posting this on Instagram, people loved it, and he ended up making more for the other days. He ends up making 2 more of these recap videos, and Kimball, right, loved doing these videos so much that he decided to create a recap account for my school, and then people loved it. And what he did is that every week he would go out to like basketball games, football games, or he would go to like school events like choirs and dances and stuff, and then he would make a highlight reel, right? And then he'll put music over it, then upload it to this Instagram account, which is school sponsored, by the way. And it was really, really cool. And then I would share those videos to the Instagram page I was running, and it was really, really cool. People loved it, and it was all because of USULC. Keep in mind, this is not the only video he has done. I'm going to be showing off some more videos very, very soon of what Kimball has made at Utah State University. And keep in mind, these are not all his videos. He also has a bunch of personal videos too. Like, he did like a review type of / trailer for a backpack. He made he has skiing videos. He has videos with his drone at the beach. He has color grading things, and I don't know, this kid's just experimenting with a lot of stuff, and he's doing really well what he's doing. He's actually a lot more talented when it comes to in-person real life videos, right, where you record stuff from a camera, right? For me, that's not really my field, right? I attempted to get into that field with Joey's Adventures, which I highly recommend that you guys check out. Very soon to be posting some vlogs of me at California, so check that out. But Kimball's a lot better when it comes to that sort of video editing. That's not my type of field. I'm more of the commentary / video game gameplay type of editing, but Kimball's just really talented when it comes to this stuff. So yeah. So back to Kimball's video. Keep in mind, guys, all the kids that you see in this video are kids that won elections in their school, which is really crazy if you think about it. When you think of the student council, right, you would think like 5 or 10 kids, right, in your school that won these positions through their school elections, right? Multiply that by, I don't know, 40 to 50, or how many schools are in your state. That's a lot of kids, right? And that's how many kids were at Utah State University. Keep in mind, this is not just Utah. There are some schools from Idaho as well, you know? So, I don't know. It's just really, really crazy that all these high school kids that won elections are in the single room, in a single location, in a single state, you know? And imagine how many high school students out there who won elections across the United States. That's a lot of kids, right? Easily in the thousands or tens of thousands, right? And it's just really, really crazy to think about how many kids actually win these elections in their schools across the country, you know? And potentially the world, if other parts of the world have school elections, right? Like how we do it in the United States. It's just really, really crazy on the amount of kids, right, who won elections, who are in the same shoes as I am in, and what all my peers are in that also won elections, you know? It's just a really crazy thought as well, you know? That's just a thought I had when I was there as well. Another thing that you guys would have noticed in the video is we were at this outdoor arena. The outdoor arena is a place that we went to quite frequently. That's where we played games. That's when we did the dancing competition and a lot of other stuff. So what we did is that we ate at that assembly hall, right? And then we got ready at our dorm rooms. We hanged out for a little bit, right? We did something called a planning session, right? Where we sit down with everyone in the exec, right? And a few people from the student council and Mrs. Government, but like, okay, guys, we need to come up with a theme for our school year. And I don't know, we just had a theme, right? So we discussed several themes. And the theme that we decided to choose on was a theme called We Are Family. We Are Family is, I don't know, we're trying to tell everyone across the whole school that we're all one big family, which kind of wholesome if you ask me. So we kind of came up with that theme. We also talked a little bit about how we're going to do the first assembly, what we're going to do, what our goals are going to do, right? So we wrote down personal goals for the exec, right? goals, personal goals for ourselves, the exec, and the student council. Like, we had one goal saying, hey, we're not allowed to use our phones between classes, and we have to go say hi to people in the hallways or something like that. That's one of the goals. Then I wrote down a personal goal of, I don't know, I don't really remember. And I probably didn't follow it, if I'm being completely honest. It's like one of those New Year's resolutions, like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy a gym membership, and every weekend, or every Sunday, I'm going to lift weights or something, right? It's one of those things, like, oh yeah, I'll do this, I promise I'm going to do it, right? And then 2 weeks into the school year, you forget about it or something, or I'm like, it's not that big of a deal, and you just give up, you know? It's one of those type of goals, right? So that was what happened at that planning session. Then we got ready, and then we got dressed, and we did something called a Spirit Bowl, right? So we go out, and we played these games. And this was out at the outdoor arena that you guys saw, right? So we were on our colors, right? We were the silver, and as you noticed, everyone is in their groups. Like, you saw green, you saw blue, you saw gold, and you saw silver as well. So we were out there in our amazing attire, by the way, you know, and we played these games, and everyone played some sort of games, right? And how it worked is, on our name tags, our badges, it had, at the back of it, you had the game that you played. On mine, it said Tug of War. So I was part of the Tug of War game, right? So we would play these games, right? The games, I don't remember all the games, but the games I remember was a dance competition. Not the dance competition I was talking about earlier, but this is a different dance competition. Like, okay, which team can come up with the best slow dancing, the best crazy dancing, or random, I don't know, would win that, right? And then we also had Hungry Hippos. What they did is, you had two people, right? You had one person on a cart, on those little carts that you would see at PE, right? Where people can hurt themselves on, you know, those carts, right? And then you had someone behind you, right, holding your legs, and the person on the cart had a bucket, right? You had to swoop up those little tiny little balls you would see in McDonald's playpens and stuff. I don't know. That's what we saw. That's what happened. And then finally the Tug of War came, right? And how it was is, the four teams, right? You had silver, green, blue, gold, right? It was a four-way tug of war, right? And then it came down to the final two people, right? And it was me. It was the silver team versus the green team. Or was it the gold team? It was either the green team or gold team. I'm going to lean on saying it's the gold team, because I don't really remember a lot. We played, and the gold team kicked our butts hard, and we didn't do well. And on the floor, when I was playing, there was this white powder on the floor, because the game before, they played a game that involved powder, and the people running Utah State University didn't clean it up, right? So, I don't know. They decided to do a rematch, because they said, hey, there's white powder, maybe that interfered. So they cleaned it up, and they did a rematch. And we still lost. We still lost that game. However, it wasn't a total loss, because we did end up winning the whole outdoor competition, and we got a point going to ourselves, you know? So that was really, really crazy. We still won the whole competition. It was kind of a tie, really. If you notice at the scoreboard, we were tied between the green team and the silver team, which, well, we were the silver team, but the silver team was tied with the green team, but we did end up winning, I think. I don't know. So that's what happened. After we won, we got our points, right? And then we head over back to the assembly hall to eat dinner, right? We eat dinner, and they had s'mores, right? You may think that's weird, s'mores, but let me explain. So, in the assembly hall, we ate a regular dinner, but they also gave us marshmallows. And what they did is they set up these candles on this table, right? On this cloth table. And at the time, I thought that was bizarre, because why would you let a bunch of teenagers cook s'mores over candles, right? That sounds like a fire hazard. But if you think about it, if you really think about it, all those kids who were at Utah State University, right, won elections, and they were there because they won their school election. So everyone there was already on their best behavior, so you know they're not going to cause any trouble whatsoever. So I don't know if that was their thought process, but at the time I thought it was bizarre that they're letting kids cook s'mores over some candles, because they had some candles over there which you can cook s'mores over. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a safety hazard at the time, but luckily the building didn't get burnt down, you know. I just thought that was bizarre. Then we went back to our dorm rooms, and it was 2 in the morning, and we started making our boat. I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but we had a boat making competition as well, where we had to create this cardboard boat, right? And I don't know, we had to create this cardboard boat and put someone to go on it, and we're gonna go to a pool, and we're gonna see who has the fastest boat and whose boat is the most sturdiest and which boat looks the best. I don't know. So that's what we did. We prototyped several designs of this cardboard boat, right? As me and the rest of the guy exec people, because all the girls were in a different dorm, because you don't want to mix men and women together, especially when they're teenagers. You know, I think that's pretty self-explanatory on why they wouldn't want that to happen. But all the guys were together, right? It was like 2 in the morning, and we were coming up with designs. We were drawing like blueprints and stuff, right? And we were making several test bed boats, right? My friend, who else was in the exec, was like, let's try out this hull design, right? And that hull design wouldn't work. Then we'd try out something else and it would work great. And we ran out of glue eventually, and my friend's like, I wonder if soap would work. So we put soap on it. It was like hand soap, and it did. It stuck together like it was glue. So that was awesome. And then we put that boat in the sink, and we said, hey, this is the perfect design. We just have to build it bigger. And that's what we're going to do a few days later when we had that competition. So that was unfortunately the end of day 1. When I first came to Utah State University, I was really, really nervous at first. And I thought, hey, I'm a bunch of people that I don't know or barely know, you know. But I had a lot of fun on the first day, and it was just an amazing experience. I am so glad I went to USULC, and the first day strengthened my excitement even more for the other days. We had 2 more days after this, and then we headed home, you know. And I would tell you guys more about the story, but unfortunately this video is already 40 minutes long, and I don't have all day to make a hour-and-a-half long video, and there's so much more I want to cover about what happened at Utah State University, but I don't have a lot of time to discuss with you guys what else happened. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to make a part 2 or potentially a part 3, depending on how long part 2 is. So yeah, so long story short, this video is already a lot longer than my other videos, and I want to make sure that's not too long. So I will be making a part 2 and potentially a part 3 to my journey to USULC at Utah State University. Once again, guys, if you want to see more of what Kimball does with his video editing, then go ahead and check out his Instagram. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and see ya. Peace.